Alright guys, what I want to do right now is try to explain to you as efficiently as possible what tempo actually is in League of Legends. You've heard this term thrown out a lot recently in competitive play for more of a macro team scale, but here I want to acknowledge what it means on an individual level, specifically for junglers, because tempo not only applies to the entire map and what your whole team is doing, but it also applies to each individual player and how they're moving around the map and making decisions as well. And jungle, I believe, is the most important role when it comes to this, being efficient and not wasting time inside of the game, especially in competitive, when in the early to mid game the jungle is often facilitating and shot calling a lot of what your team is going to be doing. So it's really crucial for your jungler to be smart with the way he's making decisions and not wasting time. So I'm going to try to help with that and explain to you how tempo individually works for a jungler here. So the way I like to start every single game is just with a basic full 6 camp clear. I think this is the most efficient possible thing to do. It gets you the fastest level 4 that you can get, and there's no risk factor to it. If you go for a 2 or 3 camp clear into a gank, there's always a risk factor that it doesn't work out, and you're just going to inherently fall behind the enemy jungler, assuming they're clearing their camps. Of course, there's also the side of it that the gank could be successful and you could get ahead from it, but just doing a basic 6 camp full clear into Scuttle Crab is the basic, safest, most generally efficient thing that you can do to start the game as a jungler, outside of some crazy cheese strategies. So here, I'm just going to just start with a full topside clear, and then we're going to decide what to do after that. So what do you need to know about tempo in League of Legends? What does the term actually mean? Basically, it's saying that League of Legends is a game that is played in turns. Your team makes a move, and then the enemy team makes a move. Whichever team gathers control can then do something with that control. After you make a move, then you have to reset or lose control, and the enemy team can have their turn to make a play, if that makes sense. For example, something that I like to do a lot in competitive games, or what I'll coach my teams to do in competitive, is after my jungler does his first full clear, I'll have him repeat the exact same thing, do a second full clear, and as he's finishing the last camp of his full clear, we coordinate mid lane and bot lane to push your waves as hard as you can, spend all your resources to push the wave, and then we converge in the river to do dragon together. Now doing dragon here is using our tempo. That's our turn. That's our move that we're making. Enemy team is going to have tempo after we do the dragon, so that means that they can shove out our minion waves and make us miss minions. If we had not done dragon, and after our laners had shoved, they just recalled, they wouldn't miss any minions, but we wouldn't have the dragon. It's that sort of trade-off and transaction that's constantly happening in League, and you have to be able to decide if your decision is going to be worth it. If the play that you're making is going to overall benefit your team. In this case, we're getting one dragon for probably a lost mid wave and a lost bot wave. So here, as we finish our 6 camp full clear, we see that neither our mid lane or our bot lane is really in a gankable position. So we're going to use our tempo, or take our turn individually, quote unquote, as a jungler to just recall and get our item. It's really nice to get pickaxe early in jungle, and you can get that automatically off of just a basic full clear. And so recalling here is using our tempo, so we can get back on the map and gain control back as quickly as possible. And we know that Gromp is coming up rather soon as well, so we can start our second full clear or do something else with our turn instead. If we wanted to, if our lanes were in a gankable position, we could use our tempo for that and turn that into a gank. But in this case, we just wanted to recall and spend our money. So in this case, enemy Diana is using her turn to gank top lane instead of recalling. And I know for the purposes of this video I just used a bot match, so that's why the players are obviously terrible, but the point remains the same. Enemy Diana didn't recall and used her turn, her tempo, to gank. And it's really backfiring for her because I'm already off reset and I have my item. So obviously it wouldn't look like this for every single game, but this is just a brief explanation of what tempo looks like for a jungler, especially early on in the game. So League of Legends is just constantly about moving parts, and it's constantly about making decisions, making trade-offs and transactions that you think are going to benefit your team, and making sure that you use your turn as efficiently as possible. Thanks for watching. See you next time.